Distinguished delegates, please take your chairs, please. Distinguished delegates. Distinguished delegates, esteemed colleagues, I would like to call this meeting to order, please. Before we start and move forward, I would like to give floor to the Secretariat. Secretariat, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. During the discussion on agenda item 13 yesterday, 3 questions were raised where the Secretariat's clarification was sought. So we are happy to provide answers to these questions. The first question was about the provision of cost estimate for draft decisions as required by Rule 14 of the Rule of Procedures. This has generally been regular practice, and cost estimate for draft decision will be provided for COP16, including for those decisions developed by the subsidiary bodies. Unfortunately, the costing was not carried out ahead of COP15 due to the intense schedule of meetings ahead of COP15. The need to organize COP15 itself at a very short notice, and the fact that many of the key decisions, including the package of decisions related to the Global Biodiversity Framework, were not sufficiently advanced to provide a meaningful costing. We do not expect these conditions to apply this time. The second question was about the travel cost. We note that since the adoption of the Global Biodiversity Framework, the demand for Secretariat staff to travel has greatly increased, while the budget for travel for the current biennium is reduced compared to earlier biennium, as we indicated in the document SBI/4/16. To reduce physical travel, the Secretariat participates in meetings virtually where possible. The number of such meetings has greatly increased, both to reduce travel costs and the consequent greenhouse gas emissions. The template for the travel plan used by the Secretariat requires a demonstration of how travel is linked to expected results and a confirmation that options for virtual participation have been carefully reviewed. The last and the third question was about the functional review. As summarized in document CBD/SBI/4/16, the functional review mandated by decision 15/34 has not yet been undertaken, owing to the heavy workload, capacity constraints, and the extended process for and uncertainty with the timing of the recruitment of the Executive Secretary. These factors are interrelated and mutually reinforcing, with capacity constraints increasing the workload on staff and the heavy workload reducing the time available to undertake recruitment processes. However, we will endeavor to carry out the review before COP16, as has been requested by a number of parties. In this respect, we are working with the Executive Director of UNEP and in consultation with the incoming Executive Secretary. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. Dear colleagues, distinguished delegates, good morning. We made excellent progress at our plenary meeting yesterday morning. I applaud you for your cooperative spirit and your determination to make clear progress at this meeting. I am confident we can continue making progress today. We will be holding two plenary sessions today, one in the morning and one in the afternoon. During these sessions, we will take up the following conference room papers with a view to approving them. Under agenda item 2, we will review CRP.1, review of implementation, national targets, and NBSAPs. Under agenda item 4B, we will review CRP.2 financial mechanism. Under agenda item 5B, we will review CRP.3 draft capacity building and development action plan for the Nagoya Protocol. Under agenda item 5A, we will deal with the clearinghouse mechanism, knowledge management. Under agenda item 6, we will review CRP.5, communication, education, public awareness. Under agenda item 10, we will review CRP.6, long-term strategic approach to mainstreaming biodiversity. Friends, let us now turn to our first item. I invite you to consider agenda item 2 on the review of implementation. We will review CRP.1 on review of implementation, progress in national target setting, updating of national biodiversity strategies and action plans with a view to approving it. CRP.1 was prepared drawing on the interventions from 56 parties and 10 observers during our plenary session on 21st May 2024. Let us begin our review of the draft recommendation contained in document CBD/SBI/4/CRP.1. I would go through the document paragraph by paragraph. First, let me focus on first preambular paras. Thereafter, we will move on to operative paras. So, now the interventions, comments are invited on preambular paras, page 1, yeah. Russian Federation, you have the floor, please.
Доброе утро.
Good morning, sir. And thank you so much for the document. Do I understand it correctly that we can now make comments on the whole of the preambular part, not on the individual paragraphs, but on any of the paragraphs in the preambular part? Yes, if that's the case, thank you so much.
To draw your attention to preamble paragraph 4, starting with noting with appreciation also. So we like the paragraph to read, noting with appreciation also the support provided to many eligible countries, as actually otherwise the statement is not correct factually, as not all eligible countries have this support. So just to say many after 2 and before eligible. Thank you.
Thank you, Russian Federation. Your comment, suggestion is accepted, of course, provided there are no objections from any other party. European Union, you have the floor, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. With regard to the first paragraph, we have one comment and one amendment to make. Our first amendment is that we would like to include a reference to paragraph 20 through C of decision 15/6, as it was an amendment made by youth but not taken up. And then a comment is that we agree with the reference to paragraph 26 of decision 15/6, but then we would like to delete paragraph 8 in the operational part, as it makes this para actually redundant. And I have several remarks with regard to the other paragraphs in the preambular part, but I will make them when we go through the text. Thank you.
Thank you, European Union. Your suggestion in the paragraph is accepted. We will move paragraph by paragraph in the preambular, so that makes little, systematic. So you want to take the floor again? European Union?
Would you like that I go through all our comments on the preambular part?
Better we go by para in the preambular, because that would put us, everyone in a very systematic way we can move forward.
Okay, so then our next comment is with regard to the paragraph which starts with recognizing with concern the challenges. So it's the third last one. No, the second last one. There we would like to change the word many to some parties. As during the plenary, we heard that some parties had issues. And in the last sentence of the same paragraph, after small island developing states, we would like to change the word and to as well as it is in line with the GBF language. And then a little bit further, so after to revise, update, we would like to insert and implement. And as I stated already above, we would like to, in addition, we would also like to delete the last paragraph.
Your opinion, please.
Yes.
We want to catch up with you. So please let us first one paragraph, then we will take a pause, then we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
So just for a while. So we wanted to catch up with you. So please let me hear from you one paragraph. In the preambular part, you repeat again, please.
So the paragraph which starts with recognizing with concern the challenges, there we would like to change the word many to some parties. And in the same paragraph, at the end of the sentence, we would like to change the word and to as well as countries which with economies in transition. And then lastly, in the same paragraph, we would like to add after revise, update and implement.
Thank you, European Union. What I will do now is to avoid any possible confusion. I will start first 2-3 words of each para, then everybody will be clear about that paragraph. Then we will move one by one paragraph. That would be better. So we have taken your comments here in this paragraph, however, and I will start from the beginning now to keep the things very clear to all the parties. First preambular para, starting with the words, recalling decision 15/6.
Are there any further comments?
Any comments on this?
Further comments,
Any?
because we heard from EU on that.
Yeah. Any further?
Brazil.
Brazil, you have the floor on this para, first one.
Thank you, Chair. So could you please clarify how the paragraph reads now with the amendment proposed by the EU?
Thank you. It reads exactly the same until you get to in particular paragraphs, and now it says 3, 6, 7, 23C, and 27.
Now I am moving on to next paragraph. Next para, starting with words, taking note of the outcomes. Kotiva, you have the floor, please.
Je suggère qu'au deuxième.
I would like us that we clarify the dates so that somebody who is going to take decisions in the future would be able to see the period that we're referring to. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Secretariat to please take the floor.
Thank you. So we could say the dialogues on national biodiversity strategies and action plans held between September 2023 and March 2024. Would that work?
We are moving to next para. The words are noting with appreciation with financial support. Colombia, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colombia wants to include at the end of this paragraph the recognizing of complementary national, technical, and financial efforts. Because in addition that we have been doing with the GEF project, we are investing important efforts from technical and financial resources. Thank you.
Colombia, as per our understanding, you might be suggesting in the next fourth para, that is noting with appreciation words. Is it correct? You have the floor, please.
Yes, Mr. Chair. It's for the nothing with appreciation. Is the
Yeah.
fourth paragraph.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
sorry. Thank you.
Secretariat, please to read out the para.
So at the end of this, it would say updating their national biodiversity strategies and action plans, and for improving national, technical, and scientific information, but is that correct? I didn't quite catch the end there.
Invite Côte d'Ivoire to repeat.
Oh, that was Colombia.
Colombia.
Yeah. Colombia, you have the floor, please.
Thank you. We want to highlight the efforts that we are doing from the financial and technical resources that is complementary to the GEF project. So we want to mean that we are doing additional efforts. Thank you. That was in our statement. Thank you.
Thank you, Colombia. Secretariat to please read out the para.
Thank you. So if we end it with, and for the additional effort of countries to improve their scientific and technical data, would this help, or information? Yeah.
Thank you, Secretariat. Thank you, Colombia. Gautamela, you have the floor, please.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, for giving me the floor. I'd like to refer to the earlier paragraph, taking note, and specifically the comment made by Côte d'Ivoire, which we think it's opportune that those regional and sub-regional dialogues should also be included in that point, to note that there are some that have not yet taken place, for example, in Grulac. And so we would like to have this suggestion within brackets to update it during the COP and to widen the date so that it includes the dialogues that still have not yet taken place. Thank you.
Gautamela, this is not, this paragraph, noting with appreciation financial support for the organization, is not going to COP. This is a substudy.
SBI.
SBI is this thing.
I'll add the dates. But we added the dates.
We are at the dates, please. Secretary, please read out the paras.
So in that paragraph, then we also have added the phrase held between September 2023 and March 2024 to reflect the dates, and that would be after the INBISAP phrase. Thank you.
Mexico, you have the floor, please.
Gracias. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We would just like to request whether the Secretariat could actually read out the paragraph as it is with the amendments by Colombia, because we weren't able to capture them all ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Mexico. Secretary, to please read out.
So this is actually the next paragraph. So I'll read the whole thing because there was a little confusion on which paragraph. So, and I think, so this is the noting with appreciation also, the support provided to many eligible countries by the GEF and its implementing agencies for supporting early actions for facilitating the revision and updating of their national biodiversity strategies and action plans, and for the additional efforts of countries to improve their national scientific and technical data and/or information. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. Mexico, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Solo quisiéramos...
We would just like to support the amendment made by Colombia to that paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you, Mexico. If there are no comments, then we will be moving on to next para, that is starts with noting with appreciation further the role of multi-stakeholder initiatives, please. Brazil, you have the floor. Brazil, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. So Brazil would like to request deleting this paragraph. We understand that there might be other initiatives, at least speaking from Brazil. There's the Amazon Cooperation Treaty Organization, the Unite for a Forest Group, the like-minded megadiverse countries, the like-minded group of countries for biodiversity and development. So we wouldn't like to add a list. We've been having a lot of discussions about how to come up with lists that might not be as inclusive as they could potentially be. So we would request deleting this paragraph. Thank you.
Norway, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Norway would like to keep this para. Thank you.
Thank you, Norway. United Kingdom, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning. The UK would also like to retain this paragraph. Thank you.
Costa Rica, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We would also like to keep the paragraph as it currently stands. Thank you.
Russian Federation, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. We all know that we can't have square brackets in this document. So our preference is to delete the paragraph, but in the spirit of compromise and trying to find a solution from our side, we can leave if the sentence will end after framework as a compromise version. Otherwise, we also like to delete the paragraph. Thank you.
Yes. European Union, you have the floor, please.
Yes, the European Union and its member states would also like to keep this paragraph.
Parties, if anyone would like to reflect on what Russian Federation has expressed, please, on this para. Yeah, I am going by the order of the parties on the screen, please. Mexico.
Gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mexico supports maintaining this paragraph as it currently stands.
Peru, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Peru also echoes those parties who would like this text to remain as it is. Thank you.
Cameroon, you have the floor, please.
Merci.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Cameroon would like to support the amendment made by the Russian Federation in a spirit of compromise, because we believe that there are so many initiatives, just as Brazil mentioned, and that there are many different targets. The High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People is one particular target, target 3. So it would be better to leave out all of these different implementing agencies, etc., different possibilities, and just leave it as it is without that mention, as Russian Federation said.
I request parties whether they accept the Cameroon's explanation, please. Chile, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Chile also would like to retain this paragraph. Thank you.
Democratic Republic of Congo, you have the floor, please.
Merci.
Thank you, sir. The Democratic Republic of the Congo would also like to support the position expressed by the Russian Federation, which we support.
Australia, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. We, as Australia, would like to keep this paragraph as well, but we think maybe a compromise language could be helpful here. So after the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework, we could add language that says including but not limited to the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People and the NBSAP Accelerated Partnership, if that's agreeable to those who would prefer deletion. Thank you.
I would like to give the floor to Russian Federation and request to give its agreement with the and compromise formula so that we can move forward, please.
Thank you, Chair. And I thank Australia for an attempt to find a solution. So as I said, we prefer the whole paragraph to be deleted. We can't agree with reference to any particular initiatives, as other parties clearly explain there are many of them. So again, we are happy still to offer the compromise with a full stop after framework, and if it's not acceptable, then we don't want to see the entire paragraph here. Thank you.
Distinguished delegates, if there is no agreement, then it may be appropriate to delete the words after framework. If that is what I would like to place before the parties. However, if parties want to intervene, I give the floor. Costa Rica, you have the floor, please.
Gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Unfortunately, Costa Rica would not be able to accept taking out the sentence after framework because the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People represents 118 countries, not just 2 countries, not regional organizations. This is a coalition of 118 countries, and therefore we would prefer that another decision be taken with regard to taking out the sentence after framework. Thank you.
Georgia, you have the floor, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. So we would like to join also the voice to those who want to keep these initiatives in this paragraph. We also acknowledge that other initiatives exist. However, for us, these are two very remarkable initiatives which we consider that should stay in this paragraph. Thank you.
Colleagues, what I find is that there are two options before us on this paragraph. Either we delete it or accept up to the framework, and then other words after that the words and formulation may have to be deleted. So these are the two options, please. Now, please comment on this. Pakistan, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think the Brazil's concerned that either we name all of them or the Russia's concerned that we stop it at framework. I think Australia also has offered a compromise by addition of some, but naming them, I think Brazil's concerned that we should name the others as well if we want to name. Otherwise, the compromise offered by the Russia should be considered.
Colombia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Colombia wants to support the voices that have been support this paragraph as it is. I just want to remember you that High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People and NBSAP Accelerator Partnership are two initiatives especially created for the implementation of the GBF. And as Costa Rica has said, more than 100 countries are right now in the High Ambition Coalition, and also NBSAP Accelerator is right now supporting more than 10 countries, specifically at the national level, to implement the GBF. So in this regard, we can be flexible and adding at the end of the paragraph between others. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
European Union, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We would like to support the third option that Australia made, and we would like to echo also the views of Costa Rica, Georgia, and Colombia's explanation. Thank you.
Gabon, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We believe that in a spirit of compromise, Australia had put forward a very good proposal that would give us an exit. Could we perhaps use that? Because it's not necessary to cite all of the initiatives, but we could say not limited to, as Australia had suggested in the beginning. Thank you.
Colleagues, there are since differences. The Australia's compromise formulation can accept it and move forward if agreeable.
Brazil's shaking their head.
Yeah.
Switch off.
Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So we would like to echo the voices of DRC, Cameroon, and Russia. We could go along with the proposal from the Russian Federation. If we are to accept the proposal from Australia, then we would have to add, after NBSAP Accelerator Partnership, like-minded megadiverse countries, like-minded developing countries for biodiversity and development, the United for Our Forests Group, as well as the role of regional intergovernmental organizations, such as the Amazon Cooperation Treaty Organization. And then we could accept the reference to those other two. But as I said, if you're going to include specific examples, then we would like to include examples that resonate with Brazil. Thank you.
Russian Federation, you have the floor, please. Just to reflect on what Brazil has mentioned.
I think that I mentioned already a couple of times that we are not interested to see the long list and mentioning specific initiatives. Again, I think that probably our African colleagues then can add few, and of course colleagues from Asia as well. And there are initiatives in Central Asia. So we will end with a very long one, even if we'll put language among others, so that still will be a long list of different initiatives, and it's hard to accept this. Thank you.
Esteemed colleagues, we have to take a final decision on this para. So since there is no consensus arriving amongst parties, we may have to delete the para altogether, please. So the Mexico, you have the floor, please.
Gracias, señor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to echo these interventions made by Colombia, Costa Rica, the EU and others, Gabon as well, because we believe the solution suggested by Australia is a good one for all of us, and insisting on the fact that these two initiatives came from countries after the negotiations on biodiversity framework in order to raise the ambition for it and to support countries in its implementation. We recognize that there are many other initiatives, of course, but these are particular in the fact that they have emerged after the discussion of the framework, and that's why we believe it's important to recognize them. Thank you.
Thank you, Mexico. Argentina, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. On this point, we must agree with your interpretation a few minutes ago that at this point the only way to move forward is either to delete the whole paragraph or to delete the sentence relating to specific initiatives. We know that this does have a message of appreciation towards those initiatives. Without entering into a discussion on a large list of initiatives that many parties here could provide, in that case, we would like to suggest that we take either one or the other course of action, just as you've proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Argentina. Now, there are parties on the screen. Since there is no consensus being arrived, so we are going to take a decision shortly, in a minute or so. But however, I would like to give floor to Dominican Republic.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We support what was presented by Colombia and ratified by Mexico. Very good observations were made on this paragraph. We cannot delete it. We understand that this paragraph is not, could be given as not limited to, but we do wish to make sure that this is included. Thank you.
What I found in the pattern is that I will read out this sentence. Up to here, nobody has objected. That is, noting with appreciation further the role of multi-stakeholder initiatives and coalitions supporting the implementation of the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework. This sentence, this formulation, nobody appears to have any objection. That is as per my understanding. So therefore, friends, we have to come to some consensus. Otherwise, I may have to delete the entire para. Costa Rica, you have the floor, please.
Gracias, señor. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Could you please go back to give us your strategy with regard to this paragraph? Thank you.
The strategy is delete from the word formulation starting with such as the High Ambition Coalition for Nature and People and the NBSAP Accelerator Partnership. If that is deleted, then most of the, nobody has objection for the first sentence. So that is placed before you. But anyhow, South Africa, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much. I will prefer not listing the initiatives and coalitions because even from the SADC region, we had the support from FAO to develop the SADC Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan. And if we start listing, it will mean that we'll have to list everything that resonates with everyone else. So our view is that the fact that it's saying initiatives and coalitions, there may not be a need to be explicit on what those initiatives are and coalitions are, because otherwise it's going to be a very long list.
Thank you, South Africa. Democratic Republic of Congo, you have the floor, please.
Yes, thank you so much, Chair. I believe that South Africa has said everything that needed to be said, and this is the position that we wish to back. To delete that part. Because if we are logical and we list the initiatives, then everyone is going to submit the initiatives that they support personally within the framework of the framework, and there will be no end to it. For this reason, we are in favor of the deletion of the second part.
Brazil, if you could agree with this in the spirit of compromise and moving forward, if you can agree with this retaining up to framework and deletion of words from such as the high ambition and so and so. So in a spirit of compromise, you may give your final viewpoint, please. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So my understanding is that the paragraph would end at Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework.
Yes, please.
Thank you. We could live with that. Thank you.
Thank you to Brazil, and the other parties who have expressed for your very cooperative and understanding this thing. You have any? You want to take the floor, European Union? Please, European Union, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We believe that a lot of parties have raised that we want to keep the explicit reference to the NBSAP accelerator, etc. We would go along with the compromise amendment to add more initiatives, but we would like to keep the whole paragraph. Thank you.
As you all know, these decisions have to arrived at by consensus. So it's not the number who supported the formulation who not supported the formulation. So therefore, I'm moving in the direction of deletion of the paragraph, please. I'm giving one more last chance to come to a consensus on this issue. So, Norway, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I don't think that's a compromise here, but I suggest that we move to the next paras and then we come back to this one. So maybe there will be some thinking made. I think that's what we should do. Thank you.
Thank you. This paragraph is kept under suspension. We'll come back and we'll moving on to the next paragraph, starting with the words recognizing that at its 5th meeting, the subsidiary body. Costa Rica, you have the floor. Equatorial Guinea, you have the floor.
Disculpe. Muchas gracias, señor.
I apologize, sir. I wanted to make a comment on the previous paragraph. Equatorial Guinea believes that it would be judicious to not list any of the initiatives here. Thank you.
Colleagues, we are on the paragraph now that the previous paragraph has kept under, for a while, kept under suspension. We'll get back to you after some time. We are on the paragraph, please hear me properly. Paragraph starting with recognizing that at its 5th meeting, the subsidiary body and implementation, blah, blah, blah. So on this, I invite comments, please. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. So on this paragraph, we would suggest deleting the last sentence, which starts with including through an open-ended forum on voluntary country review. Based on the discussions we had over this week, Brazil understands that it would be premature to undertake the open-ended forum on voluntary country review at the next SBI session. We understand that this is a voluntary mechanism that is still under development, and for the time being, we do not think it would be appropriate to devote so much time at SBI-5 to a voluntary tool. So we would request deleting the sentence starting with including through an open-ended forum on voluntary country review. Thank you.
Argentina, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, presidente.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Argentina wishes to back what was just said by Brazil. This part of the sentence, of this paragraph, doesn't seem to us to be relevant. For this reason, we would like to delete it. Thank you.
Norway, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I could accept the suggestion from Brazil on the grounds that there's still a pilot to be made and we're still discussing the format of the open-ended pilot. So in that sense, I could go along with the proposal from Brazil. Thank you.
So Brazil and Norway, as per your suggestions, we will leave that paragraph, including through an open-ended forum on voluntary country review.
We'll delete that.
We will be deleting it. But however, Cote d'Ivoire, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. It was just to back what was said, because as far as Cote d'Ivoire is concerned, this is a question which is still pending. We're still discussing it, so we can't refer to it here at a time when the conclusions haven't yet been reached.
Russian Federation, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. Just support the previous speakers and also like to raise a point that saying it here is preempting the decision by SBI-5 on adoption of agenda. So we can't do that. It is currently, but it's in a preliminary agenda. And we can't preempt the decision of SBI-5 on agenda and adoption of agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Russian Federation. We are moving forward, and after deleting the formulation, starting with including and ending with review. The next paragraph starts with the words, recalling that the framework is to be implemented in a manner consistent.
I don't see any requests.
Yeah. So we are moving to next paragraph, acknowledging the report prepared by the Secretariat on the implementation, page 2/3. Japan, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. According to the document CBD-WGHJ/12/3, the document refers to updated progress report to be submitted to SBI-4. Therefore, we'd like to propose to add an updated progress before report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Japan. We are moving to next para. Taking note of the United Nations Environment Management Group. Thank you. We are moving on to next para, starting with welcoming the submission of revised and updated national. Thank you. Then we are moving to next paragraphs, starting with recognizing the effort that parties have made towards developing. Thank you. The next paragraph, starting with recognizing with concern the challenges that many parties have faced. This was commented upon, but in order to move systematically para by para, I am again placing this para before the parties, please. So, any comment? Acha, yeah. Thank you. Democratic Republic of Congo.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Yes, thank you, sir, for giving me the floor. Now, the DRC would like to react to the proposal which was made by the European Union to replace many parties by some parties. We would prefer to keep the word many, because the Secretariat's report has recognized that many parties faced difficulties when it came to submitting their NB stamps, and only 8 states most of them developed states, and even they weren't fully in line with the provisions of the annex of Decision 15.6. And this is the reason why we would prefer the words many parties rather than some parties.
Syrian Arab Republic, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would like to comment this paragraph on in the second line in the Arabic version, after including getting the financial support, and we would like to add some parties have not received financial support. Thank you.
Thank you, Syrian Arab Republic. Mexico, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mexico would like to retain the reference to many parties who are facing challenges in revising or updating their national biodiversity strategies. And we'd also like to have the reference that in 15.6, parties were to revise or update, and here it's speaking about parties revising and updating, which I believe changes substantially the significance of the action. So we would like to request that in all of the references, it would be better to put revising or updating, because not all parties will be doing both. And in order to be consistent with Ambition 15.6, thank you.
Brazil, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. So Brazil would like to support the comments made by the Democratic Republic of Congo and Mexico. So we would request retaining the reference to many parties at the first line. And along the lines of the comment made by Mexico, we would suggest revising the document to maintain coherence with Decision 15/6 and using the terminology revising or updating. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. Pakistan, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Seeing that only 8 parties also could comply, and there are many countries who couldn't comply, I think we should retain the word many here. And also we support the points raised by Mexico and Brazil.
Thank you, Pakistan. Burkina Faso.
Thank you so much, sir. Just to lend my support to what was said by the DRC, Brazil and Mexico, because out of 192 parties, 8 were in a position to comply. So we can't say certain, we have to say many. And this is to express the difficulties which countries are facing when it comes to updating their NBSAPs.
Friends, one point I would like to share, that revising or updating, wherever in any other paragraphs or other documents, we will be changing, revising or updating. So kindly may not mention it again in any, if you find it, that formulation in any para, any document. Now coming to this many and some, I would like to give the floor to European Union, whether it, in a spirit of compromise or solidarity, they would like to support many. Please, European Union, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We can be flexible on this.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So we would
It's agreed as amended. Just move on.
okay. Thank you very much. We will be moving on to the next paragraph, starting with the words, stressing with concern that the provision of means of implementation. Cote d'Ivoire, you have the floor, please.
C'était sur la
It was
réagir. Si vous le permettez, je vais faire mes observations.
You hadn't given me the floor, that's why, but it was on the previous paragraph. Very well. Now, I agree with what was decided. I would suggest that instead of having it be a paragraph, it should be split into two. Because for me, the idea at the top, recognizing with concern the challenges, and then we say recognizing that financial support and financial technical support is needed. Well, for me, what I wanted to say is that these are two separate ideas. We first have to go to the place, and then once we have reached the place, that's when we can deal with it. So one cannot here combine the two. So we can't conflate it. I would propose that we separate this into two paragraphs, recognizing with concern, and then the second paragraph would be recognizing that further financial and technical support is needed. This would have been my proposal. But otherwise, I agree with maintaining the words many parties.
Secretary, you have the floor, please.
Thank you. Just to be clear, we will split the paragraph into two at the word acknowledging, which I think no one actually had commented on that word. And so that way, the new paragraph would start at between financial support and acknowledging. And so then it will make it shorter paragraphs easier to read.
Thank you, Secretariat. European Union, you have the floor, please.
Yes, with regard to the same paragraph, we just wanted to check if our amendments that we made during our first statement have been taken into account. Okay, thank you.
Yes, please. This paragraph is approved, please. Then we will be, as I said, okay. Cote d'Ivoire, you are raising the point.
Your mic is...
Cote d'Ivoire, you have the floor, please.
Yes, thank you so much, sir. merely to say that we should not forget to add the parties. We need the word parties in the second paragraph as well. Parties. That's all I wanted to say.
Pour que les parties des pays
For developing state parties or developing countries.
To make it very clear, I request the Secretariat to please read out the paras.
So the first paragraph says, recognizing with concern the challenges that many parties have faced in revising or updating their national biodiversity strategies and action plans, including in accessing and the timeliness of financial support. And the second one reads, acknowledging that further financial and technical support is needed for developing country parties, in particular the least developed countries and small island developing states, as well as countries with economies in transition, to revise and update and implement their national biodiversity strategies and action plans.
Thank you, Secretariat. Saudi Arabia, you have the floor, please.
شكرا سيدي الرئيس. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have already asked for the floor for the previous paragraph, which actually starts with recognizing with the concern the challenges that many parties that have been faced. Well, challenges have been used in the plural form, which means that there are more than one challenge. But however, the paragraph only mentions one challenge, which is the financial challenge. So I think there is need to build our capacities and to collect data and information. So there are many challenges. And this can also be the case for the following paragraphs in terms of financial support. Thank you.
Thank you, Saudi Arabia. Syrian Arab Republic, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now that the Secretariat has separated the two paragraphs in two, I would like to stress what we have said before, that some states have been denied financial support. Thank you. We would like to add that. Thank you.
As per my understanding, the challenges, it has been captured by the formulation, including in accessing timely financial support.
No, the word timely is moved.
Timely, in accessing timely financial.
Maybe I can read it.
Please read out.
It's in accessing and the timeliness of financial support. So it's been split so that one issue is the accessing and one issue is the timeliness. So I hope that that addresses that was something that was already suggested previously.
Thank you, Secretary, for the clarification. Norway, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just a bit confused. Are you on the para recognizing with concern or the stressing with concern that the provisional means of implementation?
Yeah, we wanted to move to stressing, but we have come back to recognizing with concern and challenges since many parties are demanding it. So now this paragraph has been split into two, but anyhow, this is the paragraph we are now discussing, please.
Okay, so you want me to wait with the intervention on stressing with concern?
Yeah, please.
Okay,
thank you.
Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. And just one very quick comment, just to flag that my understanding is that we would revise the terminology to read revise or update across the whole CRP. Thank you.
Yes, please. I made it very clear that now no party need not be repeating that point. We will be correcting everywhere. Revise or updating. Thank you, Brazil. Russian Federation, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. I think that what, first of all, just like to say that, of course, we try to bear with the decision of yourself, Chair, and Secretariat not to screen the text, so that's why we need to ask many, many times to read it and repeat, etc. So, if I correctly understood, Secretariat was reading the text at the end of this paragraph, which is now recognizing with concern that at the end it will be in accessing and timely. So yes, I understood it, but we prefer the formulation suggested by Syria, simply because it's not just a challenge on access. There is actually simply no access at all. So that's why the formulation by Syria is more rightly and correctly reflect the facts and the situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Russian Federation. Syrian Arab Republic, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We do appreciate the efforts by the Secretariat in drafting of the paragraph. But when we say not accessing the timely financial support, well, this means that this financial support may have been accessed timely or at a later stage, but for our country, Syria, it has not at all accessed any financial support. That's why I stress on the fact to add that some countries have not at all accessed financial support. Thank you.
Thank you, Syrian Arab Republic. Gabon, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. While recognizing the efforts that have been made to divide this paragraph in two, we would also like to add amongst the challenges or difficulties, it's not only the access to financial support, because out of 96 countries, there's only 8, then it really is an issue. And so we would like to add capacity building amongst others.
Secretary, you have the floor. Please read out.
Thank you. Yes, someone else had already suggested this. So that it currently now reads from the word including the provisioning of, access to, and the timeliness of financial support, and in building national capacity.
Thank you, Secretariat. Malawi, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. Would propose maybe to instead of capacity building, maybe technical support, because that one then will cover any elements that was challenging in terms of capacity of the parties to submit their NBSUP. So I would propose that it will lead, including in accessing and also support, financial support, and also financial and technical support. Sorry. Thank you, Chair.
Any objections to this, please? Take support and take this one.
Yeah. Financial support.
Financial support and technical support.
As opposed to capacity building.
As for capacity. If there is none, Thank you very much. This is approved, and we will be moving now to, again, the para starting with the words, stressing with concern that the provision of means of implementation. Pakistan, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to highlight that the serious concern that some countries did not have any financial report should be reflected somewhere in this, the previous one, the one we were discussing. So that has not been reflected here. There are certain countries which did not receive any financial support, as Syria has mentioned. So need to reflect that. It's not the problem of access of timely financial, but in some countries' cases, there's no financial support.
Thank you, Pakistan. Now I'll request the Secretary to read out so that everything is clear.
Yes, so the phrase, the provisioning of, has been added. So it reads, including the provisioning of, access to, and the timeliness of financial support. So the provisioning of would be the phrase that is aiming to capture the issue raised by yourself and Syria and Russian Federation.
Indonesia, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. Indonesia would like to support the proposal of Syria and Pakistan, because we think that if this is something factual, this is something that we should reflect in our paragraph. We were thinking along the line something more clearer than what is implied in the current proposal. So it would read something like including comma, and the fact that some countries have not received or are denied financial support to assess this matter. I mean, this is more clear. I mean, otherwise, this fact will not be really understood, and the problems some countries are facing are not going to be understood by parties. Of course, we look forward to the positive discussion with other colleagues, but in particular, mainly we would like to support if this is something that is a fact. Thank you.
Thank you, Indonesia. Kotiva.
I'm so sorry. I would just like to understand a certain number of things. We're speaking about means of implementation. We're not talking about the revising or the updating. We're talking about the implementation. And when I go to 7, it states, recognizes that the effective implementation of a national biodiversity strategy. I think that we're speaking there about financing, capacity building, and then noting that we're concerned about the financial support. At which point is it that we didn't have that?
Thank you, Kotiva. I request Secretariat to read out the paras so that it's clear to all of you.
So starting again from the word including, now it reads, including access to and the timeliness of financial support or financial and technical support, and that some countries have been unable to access financial support. So again, including access to and the timeliness of financial and technical support, and that some countries have been unable to access financial support.
Malawi, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to propose that maybe the aspect of financial should come in the next para, which we have splitted, so that should end at financial and technical support. And then the one which starts with acknowledging, we can add something. Let me read what I've added. Acknowledging that some eligible parties have not yet accessed financial support and the need for further support, and then it continues, rather than adding a lot of text to the first one. Thank you, Chair.
Malawi, we have reached with a lot of discussions, a certain consensus. If there is, what you said is captured somewhere in other paragraph also. So can we move on, please? Malawi. Thank you very much.
That's fine.
Malawi, you have the floor.
Okay, Chair, you want me to repeat what I said?
No, sorry, no, because all points have been captured now, and now what you said is somewhere in the other paragraphs also.
In the next one.
So kindly, if you can agree to this, we will move on to next paragraph, please.
All right, Chair, no problem.
Thank you, Malawi, for your cooperation. Syrian Arab Republic, you have the floor, please.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. أنا أقدم أسفي.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I would like to apologize because we are insisting on this point because it's very sensitive for Syria. We've taken the floor since the beginning of Substa and during SBI many times, and we have said how important it is for the Syrian Arab Republic, since we've had no access to this financial support. And that's why we would like to have a sentence that informs that some member states have not received any financial means.
هي تختلف عن have been enabled to access.
There is a difference in English within the text. We have the international infrastructure, which is supposed to provide financial support, and yet we have not received that financial support for implementation. That's why we would like to insist once again that it is necessary that there are some member states who have not had access to financial support. Thank you very much.
Secretary, please speak. You have the floor.
Thank you. And Syrian Arab Republic, I apologize because I think, with the interpretation, it's hard to actually capture the exact text that's being proposed. And so, we're trying to propose the text that you're wishing for, and maybe it's not being captured properly. But the sentence now would read, based on this intervention, and that some countries do not have access to financial support. Is this the text that you want? And I understand with the translation, but if not, it would be very useful if you could let me know in English. Thank you.
Syrian Arab Republic, you have the floor, please.
نحن مع كلمة
We have been unable to access financial support in English. That would be the text.
Secretary, you have the floor, please.
So the text is that some countries have been unable to access financial support. Thank you.
Thank you, Syrian Arab Republic. European Union, you have the floor, please.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. We believe that discussion needs to take place at COP16. So we therefore also propose to return to the original language and have the discussion at COP16. Thank you.
European Union, this is with revising and or updating, and this is pertaining to here on in this painting. COP16 matters can be raised as and when, the way parties want it. So if we would like to move on with these formulations, you agree, or please, you have the floor, please.
Before COP16.
Yeah. This revising or updating happens before COP16. So therefore, that paragraph covers overall that essence of that one, because the parties are expected to submit NBSAPs before COP16. That is stated. Russian Federation, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Co-Chair, and again, like to ask Secretariat first to read the sentence with the addition from Syria, that we can really capture and understand where it satisfies our approach or not.
Thank you. So this would start from including again, so including access to and the timeliness of financial and technical support, and that some countries have been unable to access financial support. And just recalling that this is in reference to the revising or updating of the NBSAPs.
Russian Federation, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Secretariat, for reading it again. So we are supportive to the sentiments expressed by Syria, and as this paragraph is basically recognizing the factual situation. So it's not that they were not unable to access. It's actually the fact is that some countries have not received or have been denied such support. So that's, I think, the language also suggested before, and we prefer to make it really clear in the statement of the factual situation. I can read it again. So it will be, and that some countries have not received or have been denied such support.
Secretary, please read out, please, sentence.
That some countries have not received financial support.
Is it okay, Russian Federation? You have the floor, Russian Federation.
So sorry, I'm jumping between microphone and headsets. So if again, maybe a little bit louder.
It currently reads, and that some countries have not received financial support.
Secretariat, I think I was pretty clear reading the text, so I can read it again. And that some countries have not received or have been denied such support, or financial support if it's better fit to the sentence.
Secretariat, you have the floor.
So I was asked to start from, I'm going to start from including, again, I'm sure everyone has heard this a lot, including access to and the timeliness of financial and technical support, and that some countries have not received or have been denied financial support.
Norway, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm not very happy about going into detail the reasons why some haven't received or been allegedly denied funding. I could, however, note it. I think that would be a way forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Norway. Tajikistan, you have the floor, please.
Many thanks, Co-Chair. We would like to express our full support to the suggestion made by Russian Federation, because from our point of view, this wording is fully entirely reflecting the concerning of our colleague from Syria.
Thank you, Tajikistan. United Kingdom, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with the comments made by my colleague from Norway. I just wanted to check that those were going to be reflected in the text. So it would now read, we would recognize with concern, and that would go up to timeliness of financial and technical support. And then there would be a new paragraph, notes that some countries have not received or have been denied such financial support. I think it's just an explanation. It's important to us to draw a distinction between what the COP recognizes with concern and what the COP is simply noting. And we won't be able to go any further than noting that some countries have been denied financial support. Thank you.
Secretariat, you have the floor, please.
So yes, we have added the word noting that some countries and moved this to a separate paragraph.
European Union, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're not very comfortable with the language which is used right now, so we suggest to bracket the text and go further.
European Union, I draw your attention to the point that this is a preambular text, first point. Second is that there is certain factual information. So if you, as a spirit, in the spirit of compromise and solidarity, if you could not suggest for bracketing, it would be, we will move forward. Please, you have the floor. European Union, you have the floor.
I think they're not ready. Go to us.
Australia, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. I just have, we've been listening to the conversation intently, and we note that this is an SBI decision. This is quite a significant financial conversation, and we wonder if it's better to be discussed under the financial mechanism which is scheduled next, or move it, as the European Union have suggested, to the COP decisions and keep it in brackets. I note that the Chair last time suggested to delete the back end of the listing of the paragraphs and experiences. So we would support something that stops at national, recognises with concern the challenges that many parties have faced in revising or updating their national biodiversity strategies and action plans, and leave it there to avoid prolonged discussions and move forward, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Australia. Secretary, you have the floor.
So I'm not proposing anything related to what was just said. However, when the paragraph was split, it is true that now it is missing something, and so I just want to read it for everyone, noting that some countries have not received or have been denied financial support for revising or updating their national biodiversity strategies and action plans. As you know, this is something that needs to be done before COP16, but this paragraph was, I don't think, intended for something on the implementation. Thank you, since it followed from the previous one.
Russian Federation, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. And although we believe that this language belongs to the same paragraph, starting with the recognizing with concern, so we have this concern clearly. So, but again, just to move forward and as a compromise, we can accept the suggestion made by UK to separate it into a separate paragraph, even with a language like notes. So we can live with that if that will help us to move forward. Otherwise, we like, of course, to bring the text back to the paragraph starting with recognizing with concern. Thank you.
Thank you, Russian Federation. Indonesia, you have the floor, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I don't know whether my timing or my intervention on my is still proper, but we would like to. Indonesia wanted to support Chair's proposals in this regard, requesting the parties to reach compromise, requesting the parties to be flexible, because this is a matter of fact, and I think this is a very wise proposal, and it should be in the same paragraph, recognizing with concern, because I think we should be concerned if some countries are denied this financial support. It's not something that we should only note. It's something we should be concerned about, because biodiversity is everywhere. If we really want to take care and address biodiversity issue, we should avoid politics and just be sincere about it. Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair and colleagues.
Thank you, Indonesia. Mexico, you have the floor, please.
Gracias.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mexico would like to support the proposals made by the United Kingdom and Norway. We believe that this is a good solution and provides compromise. We recognize what has been said and that they are not receiving financial support for the updating or revision of their national strategies, but some countries are being denied these international funds as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mexico. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Canada would like to agree with the suggestions made by both the EU and Australia. We think that this is a conversation that should take place in the context of financial mechanisms. Thank you.
European Union, you have the floor, please.
Yes, we would like to stress that we would like to take discussions take place under agenda item 4B, please.
Brazil, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. We'd like to support the previous intervention made by Mexico. Regarding the issue of to what extent this relates to agenda item 4, our understanding is that the provision of a means of implementation is critical to enable the update or revision of NBSAPs. And I would flag that as per agenda item from SBI-5, review of implementation, there's a specific reference to means of implementation. So we would suggest to retain the original text. We understand that the proposal from the UK and Norway perhaps provide a balanced approach to the issue raised by the Russian Federation and the Syrian Arab Republic. But in any case, we would favor addressing those topics under this agenda item, given that without means of implementation, most countries will not be able to finalize the revision or update of the NBSAPs. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. Iceland, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We would like to support the suggestion by EU and Australia and then seconded by Canada. We think this is an issue that belongs to be decided by COP. Thank you.
Norway, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would suggest that this issue is handled under the financial mechanism. I'm also informed that the reason why the projects are not approved by the JEF Secretariat is due to technical weaknesses in the applications. So they're not denied as such, but they are not approved, and that's a big difference. So although it's by the Russian Federation says it's factual, it's actually not. Thank you.
Gabon, you have the floor, please.
Merci. Thank you, sir. We wish to back the proposals made by Brazil and Australia. We believe that given the time remaining to us and the fact that the issue is also going to be discussed at the level of the financing mechanism, we believe that we should just continue our discussions, move forward, and leave this paragraph aside for now, as at this point there's simply no value added in continuing to discuss it, and just to avoid any redundancies and duplications. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabon. Argentina, you have the floor, please.
Gracias, presidente.
Thank you, sir. We have heard the statements of various participants. We believe that the implementation means provided for the implementation on the updating of national strategies are concerned here, so this is the right agenda item. However, as far as the last statement is concerned, we heard the statement by Norway regarding the fact that they don't accept certain projects. The fact that you don't accept a project is a rejection, de facto. And if we don't want this to be the case, then we should have a body to consider the various projects. And we also have to make sure that the relevant states are able to benefit from the necessary technical assistance, and that way a non-acceptance of a project would not be de facto a rejection. So this is a semantic problem here. Thank you.
Thank you, Argentina. Russian Federation, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. So we may try another time with a slightly different language. So, but before Norway is trying to move it to the area of some technicalities, basically knowing extremely well the reality. So it's a pity that we try to go this direction. So the project from some countries are not accepted by Jeff. That's a reality. But to go forward, we can say at the end of the sentence, recognizing with concern, so that will be, and that some eligible countries have no access to such a support. So we may live with that, if that may move us forward. And I fully agree with the previous intervention from Brazil, clearly explaining that there is a space here for it, as actually there is a space for it in other decisions related to necessity of support for implementing GBF and convention, especially when we are talking about the body which we still yet call the financial mechanism of this convention, and which suppose to fully implement what is decided by convention and not on its own procedures, and denying support to party to the convention, eligible party to the convention, on some other biased considerations. So again, Chair, I read the language. If I need to repeat it for the Secretariat, I can. So, but that's maybe the last option for a compromise solution to make it easier. Thank you.
Egypt, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe that we heard the delegate from Syria say it on the floor, on the plenary, several times, that his country has been denied access to funding on several occasions. And I think that this needs to be reflected well in the document here, and with regard to the other document on the access to resource. It's not a new idea, and he have brought it forward several times, and I think they have the right to have it here reflected as they so wish. If they have been
denied access, this should be reflected. I think this is a major issue of concern. Biodiversity is a shared resource, and funding should not be politicized in a way. If the language that reflects the situation is there has been denied access, then it should be there. Even if some country would like to have it bracketed, but let it be here, and we are in favor of having it as has been spelled, there has been denied access to fund, because this reflects the real situation as expressed by the honorable delegate from Syria and as supported by the Russian Federation, Indonesia, and many other countries. Thank you.
Thank you.
In addition to that, Mr. Chairman, the guidance from CBD to GIF should reflect this as well, because we keep providing guidance, but actually they are not implemented as we expected. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Egypt. China, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We heard statements from many parties. We believe that according to relevant decisions by the COP15, before COP16, we should finalize the revising or updating of NBSAPs. This is required by the decision of the COP. This paragraph reflects relevant revising or updating according to COP15 decisions and relevant challenges and difficulties faced by the parties, in particular, challenges faced by developing countries. Therefore, we support Syria, Indonesia, and Egypt statements. We believe this reality should be reflected in the paragraph. SBI meeting should reflect this reality in the document. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
Cuba, you have the floor, please.
Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you so much, sir. Cuba is in entire agreement with the delegations who have voiced concerns. This is a very sensitive question here. We're referring here to financing the revising and updating of NBSAPs. There is no reason, there are no grounds to erect any obstacles within this mechanism. We're here referring to a document which mentions the difficulties faced by certain parties when they're attempting to discharge their duties. For this reason, we share the concerns of Syria, Indonesia, China, Russia, Egypt, and other states. And we believe that these concerns should be duly reflected in this document. If we split this paragraph into two as proposed by the United Kingdom, if we confirm that we want to note the fact that a number of countries have not had access to international funds, we have to say that this is a concern. We have to recognize with concern this fact. And this is why we back the last wording as proposed by the Russian Federation.
Liberia, you have the floor, please.
Chairman, Liberia supports the colonial test by UK and supported by Brazil. So I also make progress because this issue is linked to implementation, means of implementation. If you look at paragraph 6 and 7, you will clearly see it. Maybe I could just read paragraph 6. Also encourage parties to ensure high level of ambition in their revised and updated National Biodiversity Strategy and Action Plan, including target addressing direct and indirect driver of biodiversity loss, commensurate with the level of ambition of the frameworks. And I could go on read paragraph 7. We clearly talk about the issue of provision for capacity, financial resources to implement a convention. If one party don't go through the process, I'm wondering how they're going to be making a submission before COP16, or COP15, or before COP16. Thank you.
Thank you, Liberia. Tajikistan, you have the floor.
Спасибо, господин председатель.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm grateful to our colleagues for their attempt to find compromise language for this paragraph. However, we believe that it is not useful to move the additions into the section on financial mechanisms, as in this paragraph rather, there's a reference to looking at the financial mechanisms. In other words, we're already here looking at access by the parties to the convention to financial support. And for this reason, I do not believe it to be right, useful, judicial, to move the proposed amendments, which in turn fully reflect the concerns of the representatives of Syria. I believe that it is important to keep it in this paragraph, in the form of wording that we have, or if we want to find a compromise, we could shorten the amendments which were proposed, and we could have the proposal which was made by the Russian Federation a little bit earlier.
I would like to mention the parties in queue: Switzerland, Ethiopia, South Africa, Democratic Republic of Congo. So after this, we will give the final formulation as per our understanding, and after having heard the parties, then we'll open the floor, and then we'll see what could happen. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. And we have now listened carefully to the different statements, and it seems to be difficult to find a compromise. In our view, we support the proposal by the UK to stay factual and to start the second paragraph with noting that if we don't find here a compromise, we could also go along with the proposal by Australia to just have a concise paragraph with recognizing with concern the challenges by many parties in revising or updating their national biodiversity strategies and action plans. I thank you.
Thank you, Switzerland. Ethiopia, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ethiopia supports the proposals made by Egypt, China, Cuba, and Liberia. And we support that this is the issue of implementation. It should be considered under this agenda. Thank you.
South Africa, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair. We support that the consent from Syria be reflected as such, noting that in the same document, there's a requirement to submit the revised NBSUPs or national targets by August. So if we are already in this almost beginning of June, and by August there's expectation to submit the revised NBSUP. So it's really appropriate to reflect that as such. Thank you.
Thank you, South Africa. Democratic Republic of Congo, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, sir. Well, I'd like to start by backing the proposal made by South Africa. And then I wanted to remind you that we have six CRPs that we need to tackle, and we have less than 40 minutes to do so. I think that perhaps we need to look for an approach that would enable us to make more progress.
Thank you, DRC. Mexico, you have the floor, please.
Gracias, señor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. We would like to put on the table a proposal, a compromise, to see if this could meet with the needs of all parties. Otherwise, we will withdraw it, but we would just like to make that proposal to see if this could be useful. It could be, and I'll read it in English.
Recognizing with concern the challenges that many parties have faced in revising or updating their national biodiversity strategies and action plans, in particular, developing country parties, in particular the less developed countries and small island developing states, and countries with economies in transitions, and then a second paragraph saying stresses the importance for further financial and technical support for these country parties in a timely manner. So if this could work, do you want me to read it in dictation speed?
Thank you, Mexico. Friends, finally, after hearing the parties' views and as per our understanding and to the best of our knowledge and ability to capture the best possible formulation we have done here, and that will be shared by the Secretariat. Thereafter, I will give opportunity to express your statements, share your statements. Thereafter, I will see whether to park the this paragraph or whether to or any other as deemed fit. But at this rate, we will not be completing our job. It's a very difficult process is going on. So I request the parties to, as a in a spirit of solidarity and compromise, try to help each other and accommodate the views. Then only we can achieve something great. Otherwise, bracketing is an option left before always us, that is. So my request sincere request to all of you is that to try to find a common ground and accommodate your differing views so that we can come to a consensus. Thank you. Now I give the floor to Secretariat to spell out the formulation.
So it remains, the second paragraph remains, noting that some parties do not have access to or have been denied financial support for revising or updating their national biodiversity strategies and action plans.
So if this is acceptable, we will move forward. Or if it's, the floor is open, please. European Union, you have the floor.
And if it is not agreed by the parties, then we would like to bracket the text, please.
My request to Syrian Arab Republic whether they agree with the formulation given by the Mexico, please. Syrian Arab Republic, you have the floor, please.
شكرا سيد الرئيس. نحن نقدر الجهود.
Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate the efforts which have been made and the different forms of wording which were proposed by all of the countries who supported our proposal, especially the Russian Federation, Indonesia, China, and Egypt. We also recognize all the other contributions by other states parties. So, an absence of resources, a lack of resources is something that is very dangerous. it's a concern, it's even more than that, it's a worry that we might end up with a concept based on which certain parties can simply withdraw from the convention because these parties would be deprived of all resources. This phenomenon of depriving a state party for 12 years of national resources, whereas the Conference of the Parties had recommended support to be granted to these parties to help them to elaborate their plans. And despite this, we're simply disregarding this. And this leads us to worry that certain parties might simply withdraw from the convention because they will not have the obligation to meet their commitments. So I insist on a clear sentence that shows that depriving states parties of financial resources is something very dangerous. Thank you.
Since we will now move on by parking this paragraph for a while, and otherwise we cannot make any progress, please. So next paragraph, starting with the words, stressing with concern that the provision of means of implementation to developing country. This is the paragraph. Floor is open to the parties. Egypt, you have the floor, please.
Mr. Chair, we ask for the floor before you conclude on the previous paragraph, and we are proposing here a language that we believe will cover that issue. And I will say in dictating speed, noting with concern that some countries highlighted that they have been denied access to the necessary funds to update and or review their national biodiversity strategy and action plan, and that the Global Environmental Facility has not fully implemented the instruction given by the Conference of the Party which implies significant setbacks in global biodiversity conservation efforts and hamper progress toward achieving the objective of the Convention on Biological Diversity. We can have this text bracketed if other parties so wish.
Thank you, Egypt. We are going to park this formulation, and we'll get back to it after after dealing with other paragraphs in sequence. I move on to the next paragraph, starting with stressing with concern that the provision of means of implementation to developing country parties. The floor is open, please. Gabon, you have the floor, please.
Merci, monsieur. Thank you so much, sir. Now, concerning this paragraph, Côte d'Ivoire had raised the issue of the means of implementation, which are provided to the parties. So we thought that thus far the only means we had available to us were for the revising and updating of NBSAPs. Now, when it came to the means of implementation of the framework, well, we feel that it is somewhat premature to claim this here, because we don't believe that there are any resources or means. And secondly, the end of this paragraph which refers one to the framework fund. Well, we would propose that this question be debated under the financing mechanism agenda item. Thank you, sir.
I would like to propose that this para, stressing with concern that provision of means of implementation, deserves to be, it may be deleted altogether as it deals with the means of implementation. However, I open the floor for comments. Kotiva, you have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. If you would like us to delete this paragraph, we could do so. However, I also thought we could revise it, stressing with concern that the means provided to parties, etc., for the updating or revision of their national strategy plans have not been provided, and we could perhaps revise that text. I support the proposal made by Gabon of bringing the second part with regard to financing to be discussed later on. Thank you.
Friends, if anybody has, thank you, Kotiva. If anybody has objection to deletion and taking up in other relevant agenda item or COP, we can express your opinion, please. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Brazil strongly supports retaining this paragraph. It strikes this allegation that sometimes the discussions around NBSAPs seem decoupled from the realities on the ground, and specifically to the challenges faced by developing countries. If we want NBSAPs to be more than a piece of paper, then countries need support. We would also like to remind that the provision of means of implementation to developing countries are obligations under the Convention, in particular Articles 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and 21. So that is why I would strongly support retaining this paragraph, and it would be really challenging to accept the CRP in its entirety if we do not have language around means of implementation. Thank you.
Thank you, President. Considering the proposal made by Kotiva, the revised formulation, I would request Secretariat to spell out, please.
So this would specify that the provision of means of implementation to developing country parties for revising or updating their NBSAP since the adoption of the framework, and then it continues on, also putting for revising or updating their NBSAP at the end.
Norway, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would like to pick up the proposal by Gabon, which I think was a good one. So parts of this para is discussed under the financial mechanism, and parts of the text is also very similar. I don't think it's worthwhile spending time here discussing the Jeff parts of this formulation, because then we'll end up with inconsistencies, and it will be very time-consuming for no gain. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Brazil, you have the floor, and most of the, the deletion, you are objecting to it, but I give the floor again to please, in a spirit of compromise, you would like to say anything on this. Floor is yours, Brazil.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. At this point in time, we do not see a specific reason to not include this paragraph, to be honest. I think it is a matter of concern that the GBF fund has only received a small number of contributions. In any case, we could go along without the reference to the GBF fund here, but then we would suggest retaining the first sentence, which would read as, stressing with concern that the provision of means of implementation to developing country parties since the adoption of the framework has not been commensurate with the challenges faced by those countries. And this would be the compromise from our side. Thank you.
Yeah. If anyone has objection to Brazil's proposition, please. You can take the floor. I will give. Please raise the hands so that I can easily get an idea who is agreeing or disagreeing with the Brazil's supporting or objecting to it. Brazil has made just now a proposition, a formulation. If any country has any objection, please raise your hands. Mexico, you have the floor.
Gracias. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Could we ask the colleague from Brazil to repeat the formulation once again so we can properly consider it? Thank you.
Secretariat can read out, please. Secretariat, you have the floor.
Stressing with concern that the provision of means of implementation to developing countries since the adoption of the framework has not been commensurate with the challenges faced by those countries. Full stop. So the text is the same up to those countries. Raise their hand.
If anyone has objection, please raise the hands. Okay. European Union, you have the floor, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. We believe this is a sensitive issue, so we would like to have this discussion under agenda item 4 and would like to move forward with the operational part of the text, please.
Thank you, European Union. since no consensus is being arrived at, I propose it's a deletion, please. This is, taking a lot of time and we are stuck up here. Of course, it is for the parties to how to accommodate each other's difference of opinion. So it is little bit, we have to move on, and we are still in CRP.1. So I would like to delete it. If there is any objection to it, please raise your hands. You have the floor. Is the objective. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. In line with my previous intervention, we still struggle to understand why some delegations do not understand the interlinkages between the revision of NBSAPs and means of implementation. It is a matter of concern that we cannot simply recognize that developing countries do face challenges and that the support that has been provided to those countries are not commensurate with the challenges that they faced. I struggle to understand the lack of solidarity and cooperation in the room to acknowledge those challenges faced by developing countries. It is a matter of fact. To be honest, I don't think we could agree to the CRP if we fail to include language or means of implementation. If this is the way that some countries would like to proceed without any reference to means of implementation, Brazil would like to request placing the whole CRP in brackets, and we simply take note of the information provided by parties with regard to the update or revision of their NBSAPs. It would be a very simple CRP with only 2 lines, just taking note of the discussions we've had over this week. But honestly, it's very frustrating that we cannot acknowledge the need to support developing countries. Thank you.
Thank you, Brazil. Thank you. And we are going to park this para also for a while. After lunch, probably after having good lunch, you may be having better ideas and get a better understanding of each other's issues, differences may be narrowed down. Now, this is the third para which we are parking, and we have to move forward, please. Now we are entering into operative part. The first para starts with the words, urges parties to revise and update. Revise or update, we will be doing it. Parties need not comment on that, please. Urges parties to revise or update as soon as possible. This is for open, the floor is open for discussion. We have the following parties: Norway, Indonesia, Argentina, Mexico, Egypt. Norway, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Chair, but I think you moved on, so I'll withdraw. Thanks.
Argentina, you have the floor, please.
Gracias. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. With regard to this paragraph, we would like to take out the words as soon as possible. Decision 15.6 did give the timelines for the national biodiversity strategies and action plans, so it's not necessary to have that reference. Thank you.
Thank you. Mexico, you have the floor.
Gracias, señor presidente.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. In our statement during the plenary, we indicated that, as Decision 15.6 states, country parties could submit their national targets, and this is not reflected in the paragraphs, in the following paragraphs. We think it's necessary to retain that reference to give the option to country parties, if we don't have our national biodiversity strategies and action plans revised and updated, then we could give our...
It is in paragraph 3, please.
However, that's very different, Mr. Chairman, because it states submit their revised and updated national biodiversity strategies and action plans, including national targets. And Decision 15.6 indicates that it can be done. There could be a submission in a standalone for the national target.
Like to get reflected. No solo las...
Not just the submissions of the national strategies, but also to provide the option of just submitting the national targets, because Decision 15.6 states that those parties which are not in a position to revise or update can, before COP17, give a standalone paragraph on their national targets. Thank you.
Thank you, Mexico. The Secretary, please read out that.
It's the end of that paragraph where it says for parties not in a position to do so to submit their national parties by the 16th meeting. We could add the phrase a standalone submission if it's not clear.
Thank you. Egypt, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are a little bit confused now. Are we talking about the paragraph 3 or paragraph 1? If it is paragraph 1,
paragraph 1, please.
If it is, we agree that we should agree on it straight away, because we expect by October this year, most of the countries will be in a position to submit. So we're talking about those people that they may have difficulties in submitting their own. This is the same case as before when we try to make national MBSAP and even national reports. So let us go and go to the second paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you, Egypt. Côte d'Ivoire.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I support the proposal made by the parties, but we should also take out as soon as possible, since it's already in 15.6, and have a standalone paragraph, the issue of the national targets. Thank you.
Thank you, Côte d'Ivoire. We are deleting this as soon as possible, please. Cuba, you have the floor.
Thank you, sir. In order to support the proposal made by Argentina of deleting the phrase as soon as possible, that's what we wanted to put in.
Thank you. Thank you. Tajikistan, you have the floor.
Спасибо, господин председатель.
Thank you so much, sir. We too we'd back the proposal by Argentina to remove the wordings as far as possible, in light of the fact that not all states parties, as of today, possess the necessary means to prepare, revise, and update national strategies. Inter alia, in the context of our country, the initiative on updating the national strategy is planned to be launched only next year.
Thank you. This is agreed. We are moving still. Gabon, you have the floor.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. As was pointed out by Egypt at the beginning, when we look at paragraph 1 and paragraph 3, they seem to be saying the same thing. Perhaps there's a few extra things in 3, and we could perhaps refer to paragraph 6 of decision 15.6, because otherwise the two paragraphs seem to be saying more or less the same. So in a spirit of compromise, perhaps we could merge them together. Thank you.
Secretariat, you have the floor, please.
The chair asked me to clarify. The paragraph 1 is aiming to be about the revision or updating of the NBSAP, so the process that is happening in your country. And paragraph 3 is aiming to be about submitting, which is what happens in the communication that goes to the Secretariat, where that the national targets and or the NBSAP are actually submitted.
Thank you. Norway, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to retain as soon as possible, and my understanding is that if there is no funding for the making of the NBSAPs, it would not be possible to undertake the work. So I think as soon as possible is the language that should be there. Thank you.
Norway, there is no agreement on this as soon as possible. If you can accommodate the other's viewpoint and as a spirit of compromise, if you agree, we will move on, please. Floor is to Norway, please.
If I'm the only one that has problems with it, I'll be flexible. Thank you.
Thank you. Nice of you. Thank you very much. Democratic Republic of Congo.
Merci, thank you very much, Sam. I would like to go back to the proposal made by Gabon. It's true that the first points speak about the revision or updating, and the second one is about the submissions. I think it should be possible to combine the two. And we urge parties to revise or update and also to submit national targets. I'm sure it might be possible to merge them.
DRC, by not merging, there is no harm is going to happen, or nothing big or whatever, much change is going to happen. So if you can accept it in a spirit of solidarity, it would be better. We can move forward, please. We have already, Secretariat has already clarified that the 1 and 3 can be separate, and so therefore I request you to agree to the proposal made by us. Because these are all very, very, very minor issue, this one. There is no much this. So
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, DRC. Thank you very much. Para 2, it starts with the words, encourages parties in line with national circumstances and priorities. Now, the floor is open, please. I see India. You have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. India proposes to add national circumstances, priorities and capabilities in the national circumstances, priorities and capabilities.
Thank you, India.
Thank you, Chair.
Kotiva, you have the floor, please.
Merci, monsieur. Thank you so much, sir. Now, in the French version, we have to improve mainstreaming and cohesiveness. Do you know that we referred to the mainstreaming of biodiversity recently, and if it remains this way, I don't know if we're talking about the mainstreaming of biodiversity or it's about inclusion. I think we need clarification regarding the French version. Thank you.
We will look into the translation, please. Thank you. Burkina Faso.
Okay, merci.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I believe that during a previous phase, and I'm talking about last year when we read, during the first reading of this agenda item, we were talking about taking into account the pan-governmental and so whole of government and whole of society aspect. One should have to take into account the inclusion of youth, of women, and of all different social strata, I'd even say socioeconomic strata, during this process of revision and updating. However, I am noting that at this level, this proposal, which had been raised by a youth group and which was backed by a great many parties, well, this concern doesn't seem to have been reflected here. So I'm just wondering, should we not here add another paragraph to take into account this proposal which was made? I believe that this proposal or this paragraph had been proposed by youth.
Thank you, Burkina Faso. Secretariat, you have the floor.
So I hope that I caught this right, but I think it could be merged into this paragraph. So this would say, encourages parties in line with national circumstances, priorities, and capabilities to work towards a whole of government, whole of society approach, and to improve mainstreaming and coherence by raising awareness of the process to revise or update national biodiversity strategies and action plans across different sectors and policy processes, in particular within and among ministries, subnational governments, indigenous people and local communities, women, youth, and other stakeholders, including the private sector.
We will move on, please. This is approved. Third paragraph starts with urges parties to submit their revised or updated national biodiversity strategies and action plans. The floor is open, please, on third paragraph. Ethiopia, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the end of the paragraph, as outlined in paragraph 7 of the decision 15/6, addition.
Thank you. Kotiva.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you so much, sir. I too would propose that we remove the as soon as possible from here. Thank you.
Est-ce qu'on a le délai?
Kotiva, we have deleted that from para 1.
French, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah, OK.
Yeah,
Mais dans la version française, ça...
In the French version, still in the French version. And that's the one I'm looking at. Thank you. Thank you.
Saudi Arabia, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In the Arabic version of this document, we would like to suggest a change. So there is including national targets, reflecting all the goals and targets of the framework. Thank you.
Thank you. I will look into it, please. Paragraph 3 approved. We are now on para 4, which starts with words emphasizes that parties should submit. Floor is open, please, on para 4. Malawi, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Malawi proposed to add some text towards the end, and it should read, to support global analysis of the information contained in the NBSAPs and improve the quality of the analysis. This is to be in line with the decision CBD-SBI/4/4/2, Para 12, to emphasize the importance of submitting the target in the template that is provided for. Thank you, Chair.
May I request any support from the parties, please, to this proposal?
Objection?
What is it? Repetition. Yep.
The-
Secretary, floor.
So after online reporting tool, it would read, to support global analysis of the information in the NBSAPs and to improve the quality of that global analysis.
Okay. We will now.
I have an objection to that.
Okay. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Though I understand the proposal, I think we would prefer not to include the reference to the global analysis here. At least from our perspective, the aim of using the template is to try to improve a more standard approach to the preparation of NBSAPs. But we don't think that the end goal is to support the global analysis. So we would prefer not to include this language here at this point in time. Thank you.
Since there is no support, we will keep the formulation as it is, please. Burkina Faso, you have the floor.
Okay, merci.
Thank you. I would like to back what was just said by my neighbor, Brazil. Now, the objective here is the submission, the channel through which the documents are to be submitted. I would like to react regarding the online reporting tool. I would like us to be clear here. What tool are we talking about? I believe that the tool is known. Let's call it by its name.
Friends, since time is over and we have problem with interpretation, then therefore we will resume after the lunch. During lunchtime, the paras parked may be discussed amongst yourself, and we can save a lot of time in the afternoon if some compromises, consensus can be arrived at. I request you all have a good lunch and discussion over the Paras Park, please. Thank you. We are stopping here at Para 4.